Canadians betrayed? Auditor General exposes massive Liberal failures in explosive new report. Canadians watching question period this week witnessed a fiery confrontation that cut through the usual political noise. Conservative MP Larry Brock didn't hold back. He pointedly asked when taxpayers would finally get their money back after the ArriveCan debacle, a question echoing across dinner tables and online forums. Brock's question wasn't just theatrical. It reflected deep public frustration after the Auditor General confirmed what many suspected, that the ArriveCan app, initially estimated at under $1 million, ended up costing taxpayers over $60 million through contracts with firms like GC Strategies. The exchange earned applause, and rightly so. For citizens struggling with the cost of living, accountability on massive government spending failures isn't just policy, it's personal. The ArriveCan scandal continues to unfold like a slow-motion financial car crash. GC Strategies, a little-known, two-person IT firm, secured a staggering $64 million in federal contracts despite questions about their qualifications, security clearances, and the actual work delivered. The Auditor General's report painted a grim picture: little documentation, no transparency, and an absence of basic due diligence. This wasn't a bureaucratic hiccup, it was a profound breach of the public trust. Canadians are left wondering how such a firm got so much taxpayer money with so few checks in place. The fact that GC Strategies operated from a residential basement only compounds the embarrassment. While the Liberals have suspended GC Strategies from receiving federal contracts for 7 years, critics argue that this is a hollow gesture. There has been no restitution of the millions paid out, no resignations from those who signed off on the deals, and no clear plan to recover public funds. The silence on financial accountability is deafening. Canadians are expected to pay taxes on time and obey the rules, yet those managing public funds appear to operate under a different, more forgiving standard. This double standard undermines faith in the entire system. Mark Carney's return to Parliament as a rising Liberal figure has not gone unnoticed. While he wasn't directly involved with ArriveCan, his political re-entry comes as the scandal reaches a boiling point. Many Canadians view Carney as a symbol of elite privilege and unearned political access, having been handed a platform by the Liberal establishment without ever winning a seat in Parliament. His reluctance to call for meaningful accountability within his party only adds to the perception that he's more interested in preserving the status quo than addressing systemic failures. But the Auditor General didn't stop at ArriveCan. In another damning revelation, her report scrutinized the government's handling of the F35 fighter jet program. What was supposed to be a step forward in military modernization has turned into another money pit. The projected cost of the program has surged by $8.7 billion beyond original estimates. Construction delays, logistical mismanagement, and personnel shortages have plagued the rollout. Perhaps most troubling, the Department of National Defence began infrastructure development before confirming which aircraft Canada would purchase, underscoring a total lack of coordination and planning. The Liberals have attempted to blame the ballooning costs on inflation, pandemic-related supply chain disruptions, and global instability. But these explanations ring hollow to many Canadians. Conservative MP James Bezin, a former defence critic, noted that the Liberals delayed procurement decisions when costs were lower, effectively locking taxpayers into a more expensive future. Bezin also reminded Parliament that previous Conservative governments delivered on key military priorities: CF-18 upgrades, Chinook helicopters, and modern tanks. Under Liberal leadership, it's been all delays and spiraling budgets, with little to show for it. The stakes aren't just financial, they're strategic. Canada's military readiness is under pressure. With aging equipment and insufficient personnel, our ability to fulfill international commitments and defend our own borders is shrinking. Fighter jets from the 1990s remain in service, while other NATO allies upgrade. Meanwhile, the government continues to emphasize DEI initiatives within the armed forces, which some critics argue has come at the expense of operational priorities. The F35 Program, once seen as essential to national security, now symbolizes the broader dysfunction plaguing federal defense policy. In Parliament, Conservative MP Kelly McCauley drove the point home. He highlighted that not only has the government failed to recover any of the $64 million sent to GC strategies, but it is also poised to allocate an additional $26 billion to consultants over the coming years. This revelation drew gasps from across the political spectrum. At a time when government services are stretched thin, funneling billions more into outside consulting, especially after such a scandal, seems tone-deaf and reckless. The Liberal response has been predictable: deflect, delay, and deny. Talking points repeat the mantra that the system is working, but for millions of Canadians, that simply isn't true. A system that allows shady firms to secure huge contracts without scrutiny isn't working. A system that offers no accountability or restitution after financial mismanagement isn't working. And a system that protects senior officials while ordinary citizens face inflation and rising taxes is definitely not working. Mark Carney's leadership ambitions now come under greater scrutiny. Rather than being a fresh face for the Liberal Party, he increasingly appears as a continuation of Trudeau-era governance, polished rhetoric with no appetite for institutional reform. His recent public appearances have been heavy on slogans and light on substance. Voters looking for transparency and reform may not find it under his banner. These issues strike a chord because they impact real lives. Every misused dollar is one not invested in healthcare, education, housing, or climate resilience. In a country where mortgage payments are climbing and food banks are overwhelmed, citizens deserve a government that respects their money and manages it responsibly. The failure to do so isn't just a political problem, it's a moral one. As the Liberals try to contain the fallout, opposition voices grow louder. From Larry Brock's thunderous questions to Bezin's policy critiques and Macaulay's budget warnings, there's a growing consensus that enough is enough. The status quo is failing, and the public is no longer willing to accept vague promises and delayed reforms. Canadians are demanding action. Ultimately, this isn't just about one app or one fighter jet program. It's about the larger pattern of unaccountable governance. Auditor General reports are piling up, each reinforcing a troubling picture of mismanagement and institutional decay. If there's no response beyond PR spin and short-term contract suspensions, then trust in our democratic institutions will erode further. Canadians deserve answers. They deserve leadership. And most of all, they deserve their money back. In the end, the greatest threat to Canadian democracy isn't fake news or fringe extremism. It's the slow, quiet capture of the narrative by people who believe they know better than the rest of us. They lied to us for years, not with outright falsehoods, but with carefully curated half-truths. And most of us still don't even realize what's really going on. But now that the curtain has been pulled back, the choice is ours. Continue living in a story written for us, or start telling one of our own.